Thank you, Grant. I told you had a lot of slides. I'd like to open for questions, please, from the floor. Shinya's been sitting here for a while, quiet, so have we got our mic? Thank you.
I had a question for Grant regarding sort of what you've proposed. There's quite a bit that you've proposed in that master plan, and from anything from a cafe, kiosks, all the way to food or sports venues and whatnot. What was the consideration for the adjacent project? I mean, obviously that's a competition today. What do they have there? How are you complementing it? How are you competing with it? How does that context affect what you guys propose to do?
Yeah, okay. I would describe the adjacent project as vanilla. It's got a couple of strong anchors. It does have an H&M, but the way it's been packaged, it's very boring. It doesn't have soul, doesn't have character. It's very simply put together. But again, it's a very boring, it's almost a dumbbell type plan, a very straight plan, 3 or 4 levels, I think. It's well connected, but why it's pulling customers away from us is that it's very easy to park there. So our customers are saying, okay, I can get all my day-to-day or weekly needs there. I know I'm not going to get an experience at Vespuccio, at Mall Plaza, so, you know, this is easier. I'll just go there. So that's what's happening. So there's nothing that's bringing them back to our project.
Shinya, how do you find the difference between Japan and Australia regarding rejuvenation of buildings? So, regarding the rejuvenation of buildings, how do you find the difference between Australian culture and Japanese culture?
Sorry, I couldn't catch.
Just the rejuvenation or the renewal of buildings in Australia compared to Japan and, well, you might get...
Sorry, just need a translation.
In Japan, the floor height is quite low, and on the other hand, buildings Australia's floor height is quite high. So it's very difficult to manage that space. Difficult in Japan. Over the various ways to recreate spaces in Australia, I think. Thank you. Sorry.
Take a couple more questions. George?
Yeah, just on the topic of culture, Grant, you mentioned the word culture in your presentation. What was it like dealing or working on a project with a different culture and different language?
I think the initial challenge for us was to try and find commonality. That's a good starting point. So yes, they're quite a different culture to what we're used to working with. But having gone through, the niceties at the start of the relationship and then actually getting to the nub of the problem, going through a bit of translation pain at the same time, when it sort of boiled down to it, the challenges were very familiar to us. So I think once we started that conversation about what we've got in common and how we resolve those challenges in an Australian context and how we would then develop those solutions with a local Chilean context, that was great. That process started to flow. Once they kind of got the vision that we were trying to create for them, and they were all kind of tapping in at various points from, you know, their marketing, leasing people, the developers, etc. Once they tapped into our mindset or our way of thinking and they got on board, yeah, the things started to flow then. So logic started to come into the picture as well.
Just one more question, anyone?
Just on that, do you have any significant other challenges?
Abby,
with
there's
the
a...
project? I mean,
Sorry, we can just grab the mic. It's just behind you.
we were essentially going into a marketplace quite unknown to us, unknown culture, language. You spoke about those barriers, but in addition to that, were there any other significant challenges that you
Yeah,
came
look,
across?
you know, apart from the language, I think it's like any approach to any global project. For us, it's about seeing how we can weave our way into the story, the local story, to create the best outcome for our clients. So the culture for us, it's all about trying to come to terms and learn as much and research and talk about their culture to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Trying to understand as much as we possibly can the behaviours that influence the way we design things is pretty interesting. But I think, you know, as I said, going through that as a bit of a challenge to start with, once we got those common approaches, those common behaviour patterns, that this project pretty soon turned into almost like a global type project. There were absolute common elements to it that we're doing in projects here in Melbourne. But we really just need to allow the locals and the user group to, you know, influence as much as we possibly can by doing the survey work and trying to find out what they actually need and want. And then for us as designers, it's about trying to accommodate all of that sort of thing. But we've put a lot of pressure on the client group to help us with that, to help us understand their customer profile, help us understand their the tactile qualities of the community that we're trying to insert something into. And you know, that's where we're at right now. So we're right in the thick of it right now, and I think the biggest challenge for us now is how the hell do we do this? It's a massive task, and it's very daunting, as I said, and the client would love to do it, but at the end of the day, it's got to pay for itself.